Hello there.
Hi, how are you, Jerome?
Doing well, doing well. How are you, Lou?
Great, great. I'm ready. I was waiting for today. This
Awesome,
is
awesome.
actually the second time that I'm doing an interview in English because I usually do everything in Spanish.
Oh, so everything's usually in Espanol.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. Well, I'm honored. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, of course. And do you go by Lou Del Mar?
Yes, Luz del
Okay.
Mar, that's actually short for Lucia.
Lucia. Lucia.
Yeah.
So do you also go by Lucia or do people just call you Lou Del Mar?
Well, people at the bank, maybe they call me Lucia, but everyone else just Lou, Lu.
Just Lou, just Lou.
Yeah,
Because Lucia is such a beautiful name.
it
You don't like
is as
Lucia?
well. I love my name. Yeah.
I like Lucia.
All right, you can call me Lucia.
Blessing, blessing. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. How have the holidays been treating you?
Oh, wonderful. Where I'm at, it's actually, I don't know if you can see, there's like a little jungle in the background.
Yes, yes, you got
Yeah.
some growth going on.
Yeah, it's very green, very lush, and it's warm. And it doesn't feel like Christmas much, but I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm not Christian anyway. So it's just for me, it was a gathering with friends. We ate loads of delicious raw food, some cooked food as well, plant-based. And we went to this beautiful natural spring water pool.
Yeah.
We went climbing into the mountain. So it's just different, but amazing.
And you're in what is it? How do you pronounce it? It's
Mal
Malilla
Malinalco.
Malinalco,
Yeah.
Mexico?
Yes.
Wow,
Exactly.
Malinalco, Malinalco. I've never been to Malinalco. I've only been to Puerto Morelos.
Yeah, very few people have been to Malinalco. It's like a little hidden gem of a paradise.
So it's is it a small place?
Yeah, it's a small place 2 hours away from Mexico City. And
Oh,
Mexico City is 22 million people. So it's huge.
right, right. So going
Yeah.
from that kind of population to where you are, I'd say it seems a lot more peaceful where you are.
Yeah, it's an upgrade for me at least.
It's an upgrade. Is it off grid?
Not completely, but partially. I do have recollection for rainwater. I have spring water coming in for my pool,
Mhm.
and I have a dry toilet. I have my own garden, compost. I try to do my best, but it's not 100% off grid.
Wow, wow. And you're out there in nature. Lucia, like how long have you been there?
I have been here for a year and a half.
Okay. Okay.
And before that, I had a corporate job
Hmm.
and I was living in Mexico City, a completely different life. So I actually watched Matrix, I think it's Revolutions,
Yeah, wait, the newest one
yesterday.
you're talking? The newest one?
Yeah, the newest one.
Resurrections.
And yeah,
Resurrections.
Resurrections, Resurrections. And I was like, oh my God, it's kind of, I kind of feel like, wait, that I left this whole world that I thought was my life.
Mhm.
And now I realize like this is quality of life and like I'm happy. I'm in a place that I actually like. So yeah, very
Wow.
different.
What? How did you even watch the movie? Did you stream it? Or there movie theaters in Malinalco?
No, there are no movie theaters. It was streamed.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. I was like, how did you do that? That's magic.
I don't know. My friend invited me over. He's like, "Hey, I downloaded the movie. Come on over." And we some friends got together and we watched it.
Oh, so your friend had the hookup. They had the hookup on their system. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Wow, I enjoyed the movie. I saw it in a big packed theater with a whole bunch of people, but it really I enjoyed a lot of different aspects and elements, and I feel like there were different themes and messages. But what was one of the main things that you took from the film?
I actually took notes because I'm a little bit of a geek.
Mhm.
Let me see if I have my notes here.
Mhm.
Oh, no, they're on my phone actually. But anyway, I think I would have loved to see something new, but it was just more of a like, when you eat the food from the day before. I
Mhm.
don't know how to say that in English, but it kind of felt like that.
Like
But
leftovers.
yeah, exactly like that. Oh, I liked it. I'm a big fan. I've seen all of them. I obviously had to see this one as well. Um, I Besides that, I took away some messages that are very similar to the first ones that I saw. That we live in a matrix. This is a game that we're playing right now.
Mhm.
You over there, me over here. It's just the distance is actually something that doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. And
Mhm.
all of these that we're living right now and people that are watching right now, it's an illusion. So once you catch on to that, you can realize like, okay, if there's a game, then maybe I can, get around it or find a way. And that's what I'm trying to do at the moment. I think somehow I exited the matrix when I left that corporate job. I moved here, then I actually eat my own food that I grow,
Yeah.
and just like taking these veils out of my eyes one by one. It's been many years prior to that, but yeah, it's definitely a game changer. And I think for people that are watching it for the first time, they're probably blown away, right? But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, definitely a game changer. No pun intended. Like he was inside the office building the game, and like being in a simulation, or having that philosophy of the world just being an illusion. Like how have you pieced that together? Like how has that shaped the way that you operate and the way that you maneuver in the world, while using this platform and using these things that kind of put us in these, we put ourselves in these boxes in a way, but you're still able to project your messages through this platform and do the things
Yeah.
that you do in this matrix, so to speak. Like
Yeah,
how?
yeah, exactly. And that's why I think I'm not completely out, you know. I'm not sure if I will ever be, because in order to communicate, we need social media, and social media is controlled. That's the reality of it. So being positive inspiration, that's what I aim for. Maybe sometimes that doesn't happen, but I try my best. And I do think that just being conscious about certain things, it's like taking one step further and further until you're like, when did all this change? Like
Mm-hmm.
when I started learning about pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this was many, many years ago. I decided to stop taking any medications unless it was really, really necessary. And what was happening behind that. Then with the financial systems, how the game is rigged.
Mm-hmm.
There's debt. That's
Yeah.
enslavement. Then about energy, that we're way more powerful than we are led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're quiet and if we're, sitting in front of a TV,
Mm-hmm.
eating numbnessly, we're way easier to control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that takes me to the other one, which is food. Like, do we really need the type of food that is sold in the supermarkets? Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, 99% of what is sold there, it's actually poison. How is that possible? How are we letting that happen? When I realized that, I was like, how are they getting away with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a few things like that start, you know, clicking somewhere, and you start understanding there's something more to this. And
Right.
then the powerful or the power that we have within our own bodies, our cells, that they have the possibility of regenerating. And that's not me, that's not just you, that's anyone, absolutely anyone has that. We don't need nothing, not even food externally in order to heal.
Mm-hmm.
The healing happens in the body.
Right.
So that was one of the things that I was like, wow, wow. Yeah, chemtrails, 5G, and all of that. When you start seeing, the game, and the people that are playing these games, the puppeteers, and you're like, maybe there's a way I can step back and I can, move to the side and be partially part of this, but at the same time choosing not to play in some of these games.
Right. Choosing which games that you choose to partake. So it sounds like you've been cutting those strings, like if the puppeteers have been, controlling things, you've been cutting strings and cutting chords, energetically as well.
Some of those actually energetically, yes, there is a way to do that. Well, I'm an alchemist as well. And one of the tools that alchemists have is the violet flame. And a lot of people, and actually myself, when I saw the violet flame, I was like, what is that? And I started researching, and there was a bunch of stuff that didn't make any sense online, at least at that time, which was many years ago. And that's used for transmutation and also for cleaning energetical cords. With these situations, with these puppeteers, even with people. Sometimes after changing so many things in my life, I realized all of a sudden I was alone. I was like, okay, because some people started not resonating with what I was doing. And I also realized, wait a moment, that's something that I don't want. Oh, my light turned off anyway. That's something that I don't want. However, then I found my tribe. I found the people that really clicked with me. Yeah. So I think a lot of people go through this. They start feeling alone, like, oh my God, no one understands me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Just hang in there. That's the dark night of the soul. When you start realizing, when you're unplugged and you're like, what the heck? What is this? What is going on? What are the people that are actually going to be close to me? Who can I trust? And they will be there. There are people. Actually, I have a bunch of friends now that I can resonate with, and I have my tribe here in Malinalco, and I'm just so blessed and so grateful for that.
Yes. And, while we're speaking, I know like a whole bunch of people are, they're giving us love. They're putting out the energy.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and interrupt anytime. I love people's comments.
Yeah. So I was just going to let anybody know, if you'd like to ask Lucia a question, definitely hit that bubble. There's a question mark bubble in the corner. We'll see your question come up and she'll be able to answer it.
Yeah, there was one that says, do you recommend a book to learn more about the violet flame?
Yeah.
You can look into Saint Germain's book. Yeah.
Okay, so Saint Germain, I was recently I was with a partner, and she did work like this. Like, she worked with the blue flame and the violet flame.
Yeah.
She was reading about Saint Germain, and I didn't know a whole lot about these things. I had never been raised on these things or even been immersed in these things. So, just if you could give a brief summary, if that's even possible, of what the flame is. Can you explain the flame? Yeah.
I'll try to make it very simple, but it's actually, there's lots of books about this. So who is Saint Germain? Saint Germain is one of the ascended masters. He's been incarnated in this realm many times. One of them is as Saint Germain. And after it was 1940 something or 50 something, after Second World War II, when we were having problems, a lot of help was actually sent. And when Saint Germain incarnated here on earth as well, we were given the gift of the violet flame. The violet flame is something that sometimes can be seen. The first time I saw it, it was during deep meditation, and I saw this violet flame in front of me, but it was so real, so 3D, and I was like, what is this? I had never heard about this in my whole life. So looked it up, couldn't find anything. And then years after, I during another meditation, because I love meditation as well, I realized that they were talking about the violet flame. I was like, oh, this is it. So it's a tool for transmutation.
Okay.
So you can turn your lead into gold, your problems into solutions and learning and evolution. And what else? Fear into love, and so many things. So along the years, it has helped me overcome many situations within my life and advance, I think, a little bit quicker than you would without it, because I think we all have the power to do that without anything, right? It's just like having extra help.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard, an individual of mine, a mentor of mine, talked about developing the I am presence. Is this kind of like that? The I am presence?
That's the I am presence. Exactly. It is connected. So I actually have as a background picture on my phone the I am presence, which is it's the being or the person, and then there are these different layers, and then there's a tube that connects us with higher source, and then above us is our I am presence, which is that divine connection that is how can I say it? That is connected directly to the source, and we are a limited version of that I am presence that has incarnated in this body to have a human experience.
Wow. And you actually saw it in front of you after a meditation. That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember my mentor told me a story. It was fascinating. It was like he came in contact with an individual who was very hostile. It was a hostile situation.
Yeah.
And he didn't have anything on him. He had no weapons on him, nothing to defend himself. But he just opened himself up, and I guess he tapped into that I am.
Yeah.
And this individual, like you said, with the transmutation, with turning, making the best out of even the worst situation, the guy just changed his whole demeanor, his whole attitude shifted, and he just apologized and ended up going away. Like he could have robbed or taken advantage of my mentor, like he could have harmed him, but all of a sudden he just disarmed himself, took his mask off, revealed himself, told him his name, and just went on his way.
Yeah, I completely believe that. I've heard that type of story many times. Whenever you feel like you're in danger, or when there's something that feels terrible, or when you're in trouble of any kind of trouble, you can just visualize yourself within a bubble of violet flame, and that can be protection. Yeah, and it changes everything. It's like, is this really happening? Because you're not thinking, okay, this guy is gonna do this and that. No, it's just protection, and then whatever happens, it's something that you might have not even thought about.
And the way you describe it, Lucia, it sounds like much more than just visualization or your imagination. This sounds like a palpable force. Yeah,
it is. I'm actually very sensitive to energy, any and all types of energies, and I can actually feel when I meditate with a violet flame, the vibration is very different. It's very high. I feel my whole body vibrating, going like, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. This is enlightening me to things that I never even have dived into before. And speaking of meditation, you know, back when you were in the corporate job, you were behind the desk, you were kind of living that Thomas Anderson life as we saw him in the movie. What was meditation one of the things that got you out of that environment, or what were some of the practices that started to change your chemistry or change the flow of your alignment?
Yeah, well, I definitely use meditation because I was under a lot of stress and working long hours, just corporate life. And yeah, I had my own office because I had made it somehow to a position as a regional manager for recruitment at this multinational. I got transferred from Argentina to Mexico for this job. So it was hard for me to realize actually that, because I have a very good life. I had what seemed like a very good life, very well paid job, a nice job title that was a dream for me that came true. And I was living I was moving to a country that I loved and that is amazing. And then I had this beautiful home as well. And everything was just like, in appearance, ideal. But then I got sick. I had a myoma and cysts and tumors in my breast and fatty liver and a long list of diseases that were already there. It's just that the stress that I underwent and many other things in my life, especially when I lost, I had an abortion because of the myoma and everything, that just clicked in my mind, and I was like, there's something wrong. There's this cannot go on like that. So when I discovered that, I said, I have to change my life. I can't keep going like this. This is no way of living, because even though I kind of like my job, I'm not completely fulfilled doing that. Then I was in a relationship that was toxic and violent, and I was thinking, it's not about not being alone. It's about, being with someone that you love. And then I realized I didn't really love the person that I was with. And I could keep going. I felt in a way almost like the life that I was living, that I thought was what I wanted, wasn't really what I wanted. I was living a lie somehow. I was lying to myself. And then I realized, I caught on to that, and I was like, oh no. So raw foods, me going down and sick and just hitting rock bottom, realizing that I was actually depressed. That was the point when I turned to raw foods. And that's when I started healing. And there is no way of awakening somehow if you're eating raw foods, especially with fruit. It's
say that again. There's no way of what?
Of having an awakening when you start eating raw foods. It happens. It's like something when you start. Well, I used to have a food and alcohol addiction. So when I stopped eating my emotions away, I started realizing all of these things, and I could see them clearly as well. So when food and alcohol weren't, kind of like glazing over things, I started seeing things more clearly. So that was one of the things that got me into this whole transformation. I used to be 90 kilos, which is around 175 pounds or so, which is very heavy because I'm not too tall. I'm actually short. And I was sick, and I've healed all of those things within the first year, which is also actually very different, because I thought that was something regular that happened to everyone. And then I started talking to some raw friends that I was making along the way, and some of them were years and years just healing very slowly. And I thought, oh my God, how is this happening? What am I doing different that maybe they're not doing? And what I can say is dealing with emotions.
Okay.
Right on. Just not avoiding it, deal with it. And also the meditation, violet flame, all of those tools, I was like so dedicated. I was like, I know this is possible. I'm going to heal myself. My body's gonna heal. I'm gonna, be feeling great again, and I am.
Yeah.
Second year, third year, I kept making progress, and I'm still not 100%. I don't know if I'll ever be, but that's fine. I feel amazing.
You
So
look
this is
amazing.
this is
Yeah.
good for me anyway. And I'm very happy as
Yeah.
well. I don't have how can I say, I don't know. I felt miserable. Sometimes I just wanted the day to be over. And then when I woke up, I would be like, oh no, I just want to stay in bed. And I felt like that. And I didn't know that was depression.
Mm, mm.
I was depressed because I was living a life that wasn't meant for me.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. First of all, Lucia, thank you. Just, you know, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing these things from the heart and sharing these things from, the life that sometimes it's like we feel almost like we've gone through past lives in this lifetime, like that was another person. Sometimes I feel like whenever I was in a relationship like you spoke of, or in a situation, or just in a mind state, that like I feel like a completely new person, even though I'm in the same body. So thank you for sharing that. And you reminded me of a quote. It's like, they say there are two tragedies in life. One is not getting what you want, and the other is getting it. You know, and you talked about getting what most people would consider the dream. You know, like having the dream job, the dream station, the dream situation, and then not feeling like it was a dream anymore, almost feeling like this is a nightmare. And then they say that the ground, or the ball, has to hit the ground before it bounces.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to hit that rock bottom before we have that comeback, before we make that transformation or have that transmutation of our situation. So thank you so much for illustrating that, and also that reminder that it's not always easy. It's not overnight. Sometimes it's over many nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. My gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just brought back a lot of memories. It's like sometimes it can get you emotional just thinking about, wow, I'm still here, you know, after all of that. So when it comes to, I love what you said, Lucia. You talked about the correlation between food and alcohol and eating your emotions, because I feel like a lot of us do this, but we're not aware of it. So just as you talked about how meditation has happened in your life, or meditation has been medication, it's been the foundation of you becoming aware of these things, because we can't change something that we're not even aware of. So what would you say to the people who haven't made the connection between food and drugs, or food and alcohol, or even think that food could be an addiction?
Uh, well, where do I start? I was led by example. My mom was actually raw vegan way before I was. She's been doing this for like 12 years. Such an inspiration. And she saw me just eat my life away and drink my life away. And she never judged me. She never said anything. She was just being there. She was just there, and she would make juices or salads or something healthy, and that was it.
Mm,
So that's something that got me into, seeing like, okay, maybe there's something to this, and it opened my eyes that there is a different way of healing.
mhm,
And I actually work and specialize in emotional eating,
mm,
because of all that I went through, and before studying to become a detox specialist, and before even becoming raw. And yeah, it was almost at the same time as I became an alchemist. I was also a life coach,
mm,
right? So that gave me tools to deal with emotions, and first of all, with my own emotions, to be able to master that. And I say master, but in a way, I'm always learning. I'm still learning, and I'm still discovering, and I'm still going inwards and going like, oh wow, why didn't I see that? Um, so it's been difficult for me. Alcohol was actually very easy, you
Oh,
know.
compared
I
to what?
stopped cold turkey to food,
Okay. Okay.
and I never looked back. And I think I've had um, very little alcohol, maybe twice last year because of something special. But I don't crave it. I don't eat it. It's not even an issue.
Yeah.
However, with food, it has been ups and downs
Hmm.
because even eating healthy foods, I realized like, oh, I'm falling a lot into the seeds and nuts that are very heavy, or when I have cooked food, even though it can be plant-based, sometimes it can be very heavy because since I eat raw, I cannot eat like just junk, plant-based junk food.
Right.
It's an oxymoron, but yeah, that exists. So because if I do that, I feel sick.
Right.
But sometimes if I feel like, oh, why am I eating? I need to stop eating right now because I'm full. My body's saying like, hey, that's enough. That's okay. I'm good. I'm good. And then I keep going, and I can feel that happening. I can be like, oh, why am I still eating? Like, I'm
Right.
not hungry anymore.
Right.
Or when
Right.
there's food on my plate, and that goes back to programming.
Hmm.
How many times was I told as a kid, oh, there are little kids in Africa that don't have any food on their plate.
Yeah.
How can you do that to them? And the guilt, don't
Right.
leave that empty dish. And I would just eat it. And right now, as an adult, I'm like, well, I need to finish it, but not. I'm full. And that contradiction, it's like, And I had to change that. And that still happens sometimes. And that's one of them. And then there are so many others, or the relationship between love and food,
Hmm.
you know? Like it's a way of showing people like, oh, look, I made this for you. I love
Right.
you. How are you gonna reject this
Right.
dish that I made for you with so much love, even though it's full of toxins
Right.
and crap, there's a contradiction. Like, how can someone that loves me give me something that it's poisonous?
Mm.
Maybe they don't know better. It's not with a bad intent, but deep down there's something conflicting, going like, well, I love them. Maybe I don't want them to feel bad. And,
Mm.
but am I going to poison my body with it? And
Yeah.
all of those things that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the questions, these are the things that I think some of us underestimate or take for granted how the relationship and the ties that we have, not only to food in our upbringings, but socially, the social aspect, like you said, with the guilt and the shame, and how we all some have different types of conditioning and programming. Like we've all taken certain blue pills, as it were, of the idea, surrounding food. And should I refuse this? Well, this person made it. They love me. They made it out of love. They put love into it. But am
Yeah.
I harming my body by taking this? Am I hurting this relationship by not taking this? And just taking that blue pill over and over again of those feelings surrounding it. And so, oh my goodness, to be able to go down the lane of breaking those synapses and neural connections towards food. I mean, that's big. That's major. That's major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people think like, oh, well, because you're special, because you have a lot of willpower and discipline. But I wasn't like that.
Mm.
I was obese. I was sick. I was addicted. And I can go from that to changing eating habits. If I can do it, anyone can do it. We all can do it.
Wow.
There's no doubt about it. And I've seen it time over time over time with the people that I work with my clients, making awesome transformations from deep within, not just, the
Yeah.
exterior. Like it, everything happens when you change what you eat. That's why I was saying it's impossible not to change when you start eating raw foods. It's
Mm.
just like everything starts to crumble around you, and everything starts crumbling up here, like it's like bricks of old patterns just coming down.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they say, kind of like garbage in, garbage out. We create what we consume, you know, what we put in, it has to come out in some form or fashion. So, you know, Lucia, when it comes to your the coaching that you do surrounding detox, and you go the whole, you have a holistic perspective on the spectrum of the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and the emotional aspect. What do you feel like is often the most difficult for your clients?
Uh, I would say it's not the physical, even though there might be healing crisis and feeling not so great some days, but that gets way compensated by the days that you feel awesome and have so much energy and you feel so light. However, mentally and emotionally, I think between mental and emotional hurdles, that's the hardest. I think
Yeah.
that's where people really just crack under pressure, or they think they fail. And the thing is that we all do. We all make mistakes, you know. I've made so many mistakes, but I've learned along the way. So it's not about being perfect. It's
Right.
about learning from mistakes. That's like the best advice that I could give people. You know,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes people want to be like, and I want to do this and that, and it's like, no, doesn't have to be perfect. If you make a mistake, great. Then you're learning something, but you have to really learn.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. I love that you think that way. You know, I love that you see it like progress, not perfection. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
There's some, Mhm.
I've
Mhm,
been
go ahead.
through perfection. I wanted perfection before, and I cracked under pressure. I
Mm,
was too hard on myself, too hard. You know, when discipline comes from a place of lack,
mm.
it's so different when it comes from a place of love. I'm not thinking I'm not good enough.
Right,
I'm not gonna make it
right.
if I don't do this. Instead of being like, I love what I'm doing. I'm taking care of myself. I
Mm-hmm.
got this. That's completely different.
Yeah, yeah. Perspective. You know, seeing something from a different angle can change everything. It's like when you change the way you think, you change everything. And then also, just what your mindset is surrounding a certain thing, it changes that thing. That's also, I guess, that goes back to alchemy, being an alchemist, you know, having that effect on the things that you're doing and the intention that you have behind it. Like, what is your intention? Is your intention for discipline out of hardship, or out of like you're being hard on yourself, you're being tough on yourself, or are you doing this because you love yourself enough? You
Yeah.
know?
And sometimes we have programs. We're programmed to think, oh, you have to, fight for what you want. It has to be hard, like, why? Why can't it be fun? Why can't it just flow?
Yeah. Enjoy the journey. Yeah.
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 So there's even a saying, Lucia, it's like the biggest mistake that one can make is being afraid to make one, you know? Like being afraid to make a mistake. I love playing chess, and I always tell people whenever I'm teaching them how to play is that you never lose in chess, you just learn, you know?
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I say too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
When you look at things that way, it's a win-win situation.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You know, like if there is such a thing as like this game of life that we're all playing, I feel like the only way you could, I guess, lose, if you want to call it that, is by quitting. You know, just by just
Yeah,
opting to not put in another quarter, not press start. You know,
exactly.
you
People
could
that
press start.
just
Hmm.
quit, when they're like, oh, this is too hard. And like, no, just keep going. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake.
Right.
Get back on the horse, and then you keep trying, and then you keep doing. And eventually it's going to feel natural, and it's just going to flow, and things are going to go smoothly.
Hmm.
It can be a little rough at the beginning.
Yes, definitely. You know, one of the things that's been coming back around, I feel, at least for me, and that what I've been seeing in others, is sun gazing. And you have a sun gazing practice as well. And how did that land in your lap? Like, when did you discover that? And what has that been able to do in your life?
Well, sun gazing has been another game changer for me. I started doing that when I started fasting, maybe about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I got into that from my mom as well. She was doing sun gazing.
Wow.
And so I actually heard that from her, but I never thought it would be like something that I would do. And then when I started fasting and listening to other people, they were like, oh yeah, and I do sun gazing. I'm like, oh. And it really helps when I'm fasting. I'm like, that's interesting. You know, it could be something like a sort of tool that I can have. It's way more than that. So for me, in this house where I am at the moment, I usually do sunsets. So knowing what the sunset hour is, and I hung a chair in a part of the porch where the sun hits right in the direction. So I can sit there in the afternoon and I know that I will have this moment for myself. So right before sunset. And I do this especially when I'm fasting, but then otherwise I do that whenever I have a chance, and I actually try to clear my schedule. So I know at that moment I can do it. It helped me with energy, with hormonal balance. And there's actually a doctor, I can't recall his name. He's Mexican. He talks about human photosynthesis. Yeah. So there is a process that happens when we're sun gazing, which is looking directly into the sun. If someone's doing or thinking about doing this for the first time, make sure that you're blinking your eyes and that you just do it for a few seconds, and then you start going higher and higher and higher and higher. I mean, like more time, right? So
increasing the duration. Yeah.
What happens is that light goes through your iris, and then your eyes are connected to your whole nervous system and your brain. And we have the pineal gland here, and then we have the pituitary gland in the middle of the head, and the back seat of the hypothalamus. And that activates the whole nervous system and also our glandular system. The pituitary is the master gland that gives orders to the other glands. So when you're able to balance that, you know, all this energy that is going through the head, and especially this pineal and this pituitary, everything starts to balance out. So it's good for people that are that have any type of hormonal problems.
Yeah.
You know, like thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal fatigue, what else? Menopause, or even uterus issues. All of that is helped with sun gazing. And then there's the energy. The energy thing I could be talking about it for hours, but basically it's a way of feeding ourselves. You know, humankind is actually fed mostly by prana and by sun energy, like solar energy. And then there's food, but that's for pleasure, and that's for what we think we need, nutrients and minerals, and we have all this lack or deficiency mindset, you know. And this is where nutritionists, they're like, oh no, you need your vitamins and you need to take your supplements. I haven't taken any supplements in 4 years.
Wow.
I haven't taken any meditation. I don't supplement with B12 or anything at all. And I'm fine.
Yeah, you have all you need.
Yeah. And I actually put this to the test because I thought maybe this is an idea in my head, or maybe, I've done research, I've read some books, and I've watched some videos, but then that's the theory. I want to see results. So I did a 21-day lemonade fast. So just drinking lemonade, which is basically water, lemon, and just a little bit of maple syrup. No food. And I had so much energy.
Yeah.
I was at the beach. I was surfing, I was just running around and sunbathing, sun
Living
gazing.
on lemonade. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I used a scale to weigh myself,
Mhm.
and I saw that when I started practicing like every day and intentionally the with sun gazing, I didn't lose any weight anymore.
Mhm.
I
So
was
it
sustained.
stabilized. It
I
stabilized.
stable. Yeah, exactly. I was just stable. And the thought of, okay, so you need 2,000 calories, because if you're running and you're surfing and you're doing this and that, otherwise you're going to have a deficiency, right? And you start losing weight. That's the theory from nutritionists.
Mhm.
I was like, well, there goes that theory.
Mhm.
I was just, you know, doing so much, using so much of my energy, but I had so much energy
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was just stable. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no lack. No lack.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I
So I know
loved
it
it.
works.
Hmm. I loved it. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, when we're talking about sun gazing, when we're talking about prana, pranic nourishment, pranic living, or just being able to take in energy from other forms, from other sources. And that was one of the questions that I had myself when I started fasting and I started going on like solid food vacations, and just thinking to myself, okay, well, for most of my life I've been, carnivorous. I've been eating all these animal products and animal flesh. Okay, well, what are these animals that I was eating? Well, they weren't eating other animals. Well, they're eating, okay, the plants. So then, okay, I go to the plants, but then the plants, where's it getting its energy? Oh, it's getting it from the sun. Okay, well, is there a way for me to just have a connection just right, straight to the source? So it's like, wow, and then
Yeah.
going through that,
Boom.
boom, it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's just like, what? This is possible? And like you said, the energy that you start to get, that you feel, it's like nature's coffee, you know? It really is. And it was like I was communicating with a cosmic intelligence, and I was feeling like love on a whole new level. And I was gazing into the sun, something that they told us to look away from, like put on your sunglasses, put on your sunblock, like shield yourself from this. But here
That's
you are.
madness. Yeah, I know. I know. That's one of the things that I discovered, and I was like, wow, wow. How can they do it to us?
Wow,
Such a
wow.
lie. We need
Hmm.
the sun.
I
Yeah.
love it. So here you are, talking about human photosynthesis and getting everything you need from natural sources. I think it's amazing. It's amazing what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also into a lot of fasting. I dry fast every day
Wow.
between 14 to 16 hours. Sometimes I do 24 or go a little higher, 36. But yeah, it's my intention to get higher, more hours and more days, maybe go to 4 days. Yeah, dry fasting.
Do you feel
I
like it's
haven't
a
done that
muscle?
yet.
Say
Mhm.
again?
I haven't done that yet, but I want to.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like it's a muscle that you're working out whenever you dry fast for that long, or go periods, what we might call freedom days or prana days, where you're just kind of living off the ethers? Do you feel like this is something that gets stronger the more that you do it?
Definitely, and it just feels amazing. Sometimes just like the lightness and being completely empty. And I used to run away from that emptiness
Mm.
because feeling the void can be can feel scary or threatening or like, oh my god, there's something missing and it's a weird feeling. It kind of like, so people can understand, it kind of feels like when you're about to jump,
Mm.
into the pool from a
Hmm.
long distance, and you feel like,
Hmm.
okay. Yeah, that emptiness
Yeah.
can feel like that. And when you have your whole digestive system is completely empty, that's when healing and regeneration and a lot of things happen.
Hmm.
But that also can bring you peace, but that can also bring anxiety. And I remember the first times when I started doing this, it was like just I was going so I was so anxious. I was going like, oh no, 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 something's gonna happen. Like, oh, and that I started getting calmer and calmer as time went by. So yeah, it's just
Wow.
practice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
feeling
that.
the
And then
void, diving into the void. Actually, instead of avoiding
diving
it,
in.
going into the void.
Yeah, that feeling like you're on the edge of a cliff. I love that that analogy that you made. You're about to dive in and you're just like, ah, geez, almost like like Neo when he was on the rooftop, when he was on that skyscraper and he's thinking like, okay, okay, free my mind, right?
Yeah.
And he sees the bird take off. The bird's like, ooh, the bird goes and he's like, well, it looks easy enough, It's like, okay, how do I? So that's another thing, kind of breaking through that mental barrier, feeling
Yeah.
like you're on the edge of a cliff and you might not make it. You don't know what'll happen, but you're going into the zone of the
Yeah.
unknown. Yeah.
A lot of people have fear of death. That's the ultimate fear. So when you start feeling the void, that emptiness, that nothingness, that thing that it's never going to happen, the things that you're never going to be, that you're never going to do, the people that you're never going to love, everything at the same time, that's how it feels like. And it can be scary. But at the same time, when you start flowing with it and you understand, well, that's always going to be there anyway. And you're like, okay, I can breathe, I can live with that, and yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I love how you describe emptiness as well, Lucia. It reminds me of, there's a saying in Taoism, in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. It says, if you want to be full, be empty, and if you want to be given everything, give everything up. And it's kind of very backwards. It's very paradoxical in the philosophy of, doing the opposite. If you want that feeling of fullness, be empty. And there is a fear surrounding being empty. Like you said before, of how we're eating our emotions and, we're burying these things down that want to be released, that want to be acknowledged, that want to be loved within us. And we're using food sometimes as a coping mechanism to do that. But I find it so commendable that you're able to go these long periods, these stretches of time, 16 hours just being empty, and you're able to do that over and over again and getting used to this feeling that so many people are afraid of, where we go from meal to meal to meal, just overworking the vessel, in a constant state of digestion, eating 3 meals a day plus snacks, and just always being afraid of not having enough, not
Yeah,
being enough. Yeah.
yeah. I eat only once a day as well. Like at the proper meal, just once a day, and then the rest of the day it's either juice or fruits, which fruit is actually an actual meal, but yeah, and like so having a salad or maybe something cooked, just once. That's where I found my balance. And it's been up and down, it's been different. And eventually I would love to be just on fruits or eventually just on prana. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen on this lifetime. Who knows?
And what we talk about when you're talking about 1 meal a day, like the OMAD, like some people say that's the warrior technique, 1 meal a day. And I think to myself, when I hypothesize about what they talk about, if we came from, if you can imagine Paleolithic ancestors that migrated and constantly went from place to place, and they didn't have freezers, they didn't have pantries, they didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have things to store, they didn't have grocery stores, they just lived off the land, and went from place to place. I'm sure that going days without eating was common.
It's completely possible.
Completely.
You know what? There's actually I don't know if it's called a myth or if that would be the right word, but let's call it a myth, that you die from starvation. Let's say that you go for 4 days, 5 days, 7 days, let's say a week, 2 weeks without food, and then you die from starvation. That's what they say. That's the myth.
That is what they say.
However, we don't die from starvation. We die from toxicity, from our own crap. That's what happens. So if
Woo.
you're highly toxic and you go on a dry fast and you want to live on prana, you're not ready. You have to transition before you start doing that because so many toxins come out at the same time that they might kill you, actually.
So,
Yeah. So if you've cleaned your body enough, then and I'm not too skinny either. I've never been too skinny. Maybe when I fast, I lose 5 kilos at the most, but
mhm.
I'm always around the same weight. So I have plenty of fat. Some fat I don't want to see go, but uh, anyway, but it's there. The body can feed itself from fat, from cells that are dying, and then regeneration happens. So, and also if you're fully hydrated, not just by drinking a lot of water, but actually cellular hydration, and that only
Right,
happens with raw living foods.
right.
If you're well hydrated, you can go a long way. So before you die, or you think you die from starvation, actually what happens is people die from their own toxins.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I mean, I got goosebumps just now when you said that, Lucia, because thank you so much for illustrating and for talking about and for touching on what a lot of people I don't think touch on, which is our ability, our innate ability, I believe, to be self-sustaining, to be self-sufficient, to be autonomous in that way. And I remember when I was going through long periods of fasting, I was reading this book by Hilton Hotema, and it was
Ah, yeah.
called Man's Higher Consciousness. And that is what I was learning as well. I was like, it was blowing my mind. I was like, what? Because it talked about that age-old question, do we die of starvation? And it was teaching me, no, we die from stimulation, you know, from the toxification in our bodies. And you would think it's like a heroin addict that has been strung out on heroin for the longest, and they're going to a rehabilitation center. They're going to go through withdrawals. You know, they're going to go through a lot of, their body's going to be shaking, they're going to be sweating, they're going to be just, you know, so many things are going to be coming out of their body. And you know, sometimes they don't, you know, they don't make it through that ordeal. It's very painful. So if you can think of food on a level like crazy level of stimulation, that we're overstimulated, I mean, coming out of that, you know what I mean? It's not as easy as you would think. So the whole starvation thing is very, it's fascinating to me, just thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to overcome that because I in a previous lifetime I actually died from starvation.
Wow. Wow.
Or who knows, from my own toxins. But that was a fear. I couldn't fast.
Hmm.
It was impossible for me to fast. I was a raw vegan, no problem. But then when I tried fasting, I couldn't do it. And I was like, why? It seems so simple. Why can't I do it? And then I had to unlock that within my mind, that
Mm-hmm.
fear of dying from starvation.
Oof, oof. Oh my gosh. You, this is like, oh my God. I don't know what you're doing. Like, how are you tapping in like this? When you say unlocked, you
Yeah,
unlocked it.
it's
I
like,
just got a, I got a visual of the red pill, you know? Like somebody gave you the red pill and you had to unlock it, you know? You had to make that choice to take it, to take that red pill and say, you know what? There's something more. There's something more beyond this, you know? And
yeah.
it, oh my goodness.
It was kind
Unlocking
of
that
like
within
Neo
yourself.
watching that
Hmm.
pigeon on the ledge.
Hmm.
He's like, that pigeon's flying. Why
Right.
can't he do it and I can't? I mean, then that's when I realized I was like, okay, if there are a lot of people doing that, I'm sure that I'm capable of doing that.
Right.
So I dug deeper and I was like, there's something here until I found it.
Wow. You kept digging. You didn't give up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here you are today. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I really just appreciate, you know, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on here. I don't know if people realize this is literally like our first interaction like this. This is our first, you know, talk with each other, and I just appreciate your energy. I appreciate what you're doing for the world. You're really raising the vibration, the consciousness, expanding people. And I love the way that you're doing it and the philosophy that you have behind these things that are so simple, but a lot of times we make things complicated, you know? They could be so simple. You know?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. It's been such a long time since the last time I've done an interview in English, so I think it helped me with my English, and also to have this information, because I also have some English speaking clients, or some friends that only speak English, and they are like, so when are you going to do an interview in English? And I'm going to be like, here you go. Come and watch.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you know, on that note, you speak from the heart, and
Yeah.
love is a language that is universal. You know, love is a language that transcends, you know. So even if we weren't speaking in the same language, I feel like I could feel you, and I feel like I could understand. So thank you for you know, doing this all in English, and just coming on here and being willing, you know, the willingness to share, because like they say, sharing is caring. And I know that
Yes.
so many people in here that came in here were definitely affected by this. I'm gonna be rewatching this, like this replay of because there are so many points that just hit me, like, wow, like she went through the same thing that I went through, like we went through the same thing that we went, you know. Is just a lot of epiphanies, a lot of synchronicities. And I
Yeah.
just love when we can come together like this, especially through, like they say, you know, the matrix, the technology, the devices that we're using. Instead of being divided by these devices, we're using them to bring us
We're
more in
hacking it.
harmony. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerome. Hi, everyone, and have a beautiful and blessed night.
Much love, much love. Take care, everyone, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Much love. Take care.